Hello and welcome to the Real Positive Girl podcast. My name is Sabrina. Thank you so much for listening, downloading, sharing the show. I truly appreciate it. I just love how people are continuing to love and enjoy the show. And if you do love and enjoy the show, and if you are able to leave a 5-star review or to just leave some sort of uplifting comment or interesting description of the show from your point of view on whatever podcast platform you listen to the show, I would greatly appreciate it. That would just help bring more people into listening to the show and give me the opportunity to help even more people. So if you were able to do that, I would greatly appreciate it. Also, if you wanted to come by and just chat with me and connect with me on Instagram, I am at Sabrina Joy Perozzo, or you're welcome to send me an email as well. All of that information is in the description box, along with all the notes for the show. But again, I appreciate you listening. I appreciate you downloading and sharing the show. So let's get right into the episode. Thanks so much, guys. Happy Thursday, everyone, and welcome back to the Real Positive Girl podcast with me, Sabrina. I hope that you're having a fantastic day this Thursday. This week, we are talking about how to do it. That is the topic for the week. And today, Thursday, we're going to talk about how to stay mentally strong. But before we jump in, I do want to always remind you of the 5-minute reset, which is to take at least 5 minutes to be by yourself and allow yourself to reset, reboot, restart your day right then and there. If you feel like your day has been stressful, overwhelming, not the best start, it's not the best fit for what you had wanted and desired. It also allows you to take a break from any issues or burdens that are stressing you out, dragging you down, kind of just getting in your way. You can also take the time to come up with any resolutions for any problems or issues that you are dealing with, whether alone or with other people. I always encourage everyone to come up with a list of at least 4 things that you are grateful for, big, small, medium size. You can be grateful for cooking a really good dinner and feeling really good about yourself because it turned out super well. You can be grateful that you were able to have time to finally load the dishwasher and clean up your kitchen a bit. You can be grateful that, you were able to spend a little bit of extra time getting some work done and, feeling really on top of all your projects and everything that you have to get done and you feel is due. Or you can just feel grateful that you're able to spend an extra, hour on the couch after work and be able to decompress and de-stress and truly spend that time really doing what you want as opposed to always work. So you can be grateful for literally anything. The list is endless, which is fantastic. And then last but not least, make sure that you're feeling at least neutral, if not positive, about the rest of your day because hopefully reflecting on things that are blessings in your life, that are positives, will help you realize that focusing more on those things will help you get through the hard times that you may be going through. So yeah, I just hope you try that out if you are having a hard day. So today we are going to talk about how to stay mentally strong. I think it's a great thing to talk about on this Thursday, and I do hope it is a good day for you. So mental strength. Mental strength, is this something anyone really thinks about? I would have to venture no. There is a ton of focus on mental health, in general, self-esteem, self-confidence, but not as much push on mental strength. Myself, I focus on all those things that I just listed, mental health, self-esteem, self-confidence, of course. They're really important, but I think mental strength is just as important. I think it can go both ways because some people find it very important and other people probably think it's like a facade, something that's not really real, because, like adding strength to your mind, it might seem like you are putting up a barrier or a wall when that's really not what it's about. I just feel like there can be a negative connotation on it some people that have spoken about that. But mental strength is the ability to be vulnerable, willingness to work on your character, and be resilient against whatever comes your way. And I know that we all want to work on being resilient with whatever comes our way, whatever we have to face, whatever we have to deal with. We want to be able to bounce back and not let us let it break us down as much as things have in the past, and I'm not saying you are going to be a complete bounce back wall, because different struggles and different things come at us at different times in our lives, and sometimes we are more prepared than others. However, I think that as time goes on, we'll be able to grow more and more and more and become more resilient, that things won't make us feel like we're going to crumble in that moment, but we're able to push back a little bit and figure out how to get ourselves back to square one quicker than we may have been able to do in the past. And of course, having the ability to be vulnerable, I believe, is definitely complemented to mental strength, because you are able to share what you're going through, what's happening, how you feel, how you truly feel about things, and really get deep and honest, without that making you feel super uncomfortable or feel like you're going to be exposed, or, are going to run into an issue where trust can be broken, and, you're just letting your heart out. And then willingness to work on your character, willingness to work on who you are, what you're all about, work on yourself as a person, continue to be stronger, and continue on that journey to be a better you, which is what I always talk about. So mental strength is necessary to live your best life. And today I want to share some ways to work on becoming mentally stronger. I didn't really have a really big intro for this one. I just really wanted to jump into the steps because I feel like that will be super helpful. And I feel like, mental strength, I gave a quick definition. It kind of like demonstrates what it is in itself. So I have 5 tips for you to help you work on staying mentally strong, and I hope that they really help you. So the first one is to acknowledge your weaknesses. And I know this is a common thing where everyone talks about how we definitely need to be aware of our weaknesses and our strengths. And it's important to definitely highlight our strengths and remind us where we are strong, where we do win, like I was talking about earlier this week. But it is important to acknowledge what we are weak at so that we can pinpoint what we should be working on, or maybe points where we need to actually enlist help. And it's just not something that we are very good at learning and growing in or understanding. There's definitely key things in everyone's lives where, you can't be good at everything, right? You can be moderately okay, I think, at most things, but I don't think everyone could be like their best at everything. And that's why we need to enlist people in our lives to help us, to assist us, to be there for us, because we're all created differently. We all excel in different areas. And I believe that's another reason why God created us all to be different, so that we can come together as a community and help each other. So it's important to acknowledge your weaknesses so that you understand where you need to work on certain things and where you need to bring in help. And I also think it's very vulnerable for you to share, like, hey, these are the things that I'm not doing very well at, and even if you just want to enlist someone to come in and teach you more and to help you figure it out even more and more, that could work too. It's whatever kind of a way you want to take it, but just being able to acknowledge it and not feel embarrassed or too fearful of pushback or judgment. I mean, because those things can definitely happen when you really put it all out there. But if you are mentally strong enough to know that by admitting those, you're making yourself stronger, because you're actually identifying things that you want to work on or that you need to, pass on to someone else, because they're just not things that you're feeling like you're going to be able to actually get better at as you have tried. The second tip is practicing patience. Patience is one of the hardest things, because we live in a world where everything is so instant and so instant gratification for so many things. Like even even like when you order something online from Amazon or a lot of other places where there be really quick shipping. There is a boutique that I order from often called Shop Tabby, and it amazes me a lot of the times how quickly my items get to me and how quickly they're shipped out. And, I think that is the beauty of smaller businesses. I feel like they work so much more quicker and with more heart, as opposed to bigger businesses where there are all these different chains of command and different places that your orders have to go through before it gets to you. Unless you're talking about Amazon, where you can get things in 2 days, which is pretty fantastic. However, I do remember at the really beginning of, not the real beginning, there's the beginning of the pandemic, and then there was a little bit later when mail and everything started to stall. and a lot of things weren't coming as quickly as they were from Amazon and different places where you'd get items very quickly. And I remember people being so upset, it's like, oh my gosh, like it's not 1 day or 2 days anymore. The world is ending. And so, we live in a world where we just expect things to happen so quickly, and we can spend a lot of time obsessing over whether those things are happening quick enough, efficient enough, and we don't ever really practice patience. Think about maybe back into your childhood or into adolescent age, like high school, where you had to actually wait things out. If you did order something online, it took like a week or two to get to you, or even longer, depending upon where it's coming from. Or I remember when I was I think it was in college, and I ended up buying a couple things off of eBay, but they're being shipped from the other side of the world. And, you would just wait like a month or a month and a half for those things to show up. And that was just the expectation, and it was fine. It was fine. You just ordered it, and then you kind of just let yourself forget about it. And then when it came in, you're just like super stoked, right? So, I just think that we need to work on being more patient and understanding that we can learn so much in the waiting period. We can grow and stretch ourselves to know that we don't need everything right away. And I believe that patience contributes to mental strength because you're able to understand that you don't need everything right now. You don't need to continually instantly gratify yourself. And because I feel like that's actually one of the biggest ways where people get burnt out on things, but also just end up getting bored with their life because everything is just coming at them so quickly, and they're able to get things so quickly and continue to feed into believing that you can spend money and that will make you happy. You can buy things online and that'll contribute to your happiness, or you can, try out cool new things from Amazon, or buy cool new like drinks and supplements from other companies and do this, that, and the other, and just spend money and get things like quick so that you can continue to have something new in front of you, something new to distract you from dealing with any real problems or issues or struggles that are currently happening in your life, So I think it's important for us to implement more patience in our life to become mentally stronger, to understand that, we don't always need an answer right away. I feel like Google has made it easy. You can just type things into Google and you generally get your answer, which I believe is a godsend. Honestly, it's a blessing. But there are other times where you have to wait it out. You have to wait to get an answer from someone. You have to wait for a test result. You have to wait for someone to understand you and to forgive you and to rekindle a relationship, or to fix a friendship, or you have to wait to get to know someone and actually decide whether or not you should pursue anything more seriously with someone. You have to work your way up to the top of whatever goal you're trying to achieve, or wherever you're working, or whatever, things that you're trying to go for. You can't just speed through and think that's going to be the best way to go, because you're going to miss out on learning and getting through struggles and being able to grow stronger in whatever it is you are trying to be on a journey towards, because that's where you learn all the really, really, really important things. Because if you just went from 0 to 100, then how would you continue to maintain where you are at 100? Because you haven't gone through any of the struggles it was to get there, which will really help you continue to navigate struggles that come in the future. I hope that makes sense. So patience is super important. Number 3 is to ask for help. I think that the most mentally strong people are going to be the ones that ask for help. They're not going to be the ones that are going to pretend like they know everything. They are not going to be the people that are too prideful and their ego is too big to admit when they are wrong, when they need assistance, when something that they thought they could do goes wrong and they need someone else to step in and assist or just take it over, I think it's really hard for especially people that have control issues like myself, people pleasers, perfectionists, to hand something over to someone else and be like, I'm sorry, I can't do it. You're going to have to do it. That takes a lot. It takes a lot because you're letting go. You're admitting defeat. You're admitting to yourself and to others that you can't do it. you're not able to do this by yourself. And I understand that a lot of people want to be able to do things by themselves because they want to be able to show people that they are capable of doing it on their own. They don't need anyone else. And it's usually more because of your ego and your pride. It's all pride based because you're trying to show someone else up. You're trying to show them the opposite of maybe something that they had said to you, an opinion, some sort of harsh judgment, whatever it may have been, or just to look better than someone else. Like, oh, I don't need help to do it. When really asking for help is honestly enlisting someone that knows more than you and really using what they know to complement what you don't know and putting those things together and working as a team. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with asking for help, admitting defeat, and understanding that you are giving yourself the opportunity to learn something new from someone that actually knows what they're doing. And that's fan-freaking-tastic. It is. It really is. So practice asking for help. Number 4 is to master your emotions, but be vulnerable. So I'd already mentioned being vulnerable is very important. It is very important for you to master your emotions, to understand that you don't want to fall apart at the drop of a hat. I used to experience this a lot. I would just cry for no reason. I would get so upset over the smallest things. And it was all because it was surface emotions and things that I had not dealt with, things that I had not worked through. And so those surface things were really big triggers for me, for things that are underneath the surface that I was just trying to ignore at the time, to be perfectly honest with you. And I know that a lot of people struggle with that. They probably don't even know that they're struggling with that. They just are. So anyway, master your emotions. Make sure that you understand why you are feeling the way that you are, and to really dive deep into those triggers, those surface emotions, and what's actually underneath them. Though you're not just mad because they didn't want to give you a ride, or you're not just mad because you couldn't be added to a credit card to be a joint credit card situation, or you're not just mad that someone doesn't want to tell you a secret. There are things that are underneath that. There's rejection, and there's fear of missing out, and fearing of being left behind, and and lack of trust, and feeling like you are going to be betrayed and things like that. So it's important for you to master your emotions, but it's also important for you to ride the healthy balance of being vulnerable, of, being able to share your emotions. And I feel like if you are struggling to master your emotions, it's going to take you a while to be able to be vulnerable as well, because, like I said, it's a healthy balance. And I do understand there's going to be seasons in our life where this is easier, and then there's going to be seasons in our life that are harder. So I'm not saying that the ability to do this is linear by any means. It's going to be up and down all around, especially if you're a really emotional person, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I am definitely an emotional person. I do feel like I have most of my emotions mastered, and I am able to be vulnerable, but that really only started more so in the last year. And it has been a breath of fresh air, but it's also, I feel like I'm really painting a target on myself. I feel very exposed, and that's hard. It kind of feels like I have an open wound, and I'm just letting people look around in it. And that can be really hard in the beginning, but as you do it more and more, it'll feel easier and easier. I do promise you. And, people will really understand who you are and see you as more genuine and authentic to who you are. You're being transparent. You're sharing what's going on with you. You are being honest. And I feel like that's really important and something that we all should strive to do more and more. So you have to be able to master your emotions so they aren't just exploding here, there, everywhere like fireworks on the 4th of July. But you also want to be able to not just lock them all away and share them with others. Number 5, and the last one that I have to share with you for how to stay mentally strong, is accept reality but keep going. So a lot of times things just don't go the way we want, the way we had planned, the way we had worked for. It's just the way of life. It just doesn't go the way that we wanted. And that can be really disappointing and a huge letdown. A lot of times when I get my hopes up, and I don't like to get my hopes up. I don't. Even my husband knows this. I don't like to. It's not fun. And it all stems from my childhood, getting my hopes up and having those dashed more times than I can remember. So I don't like to get my hopes up. So, because when I do, and something falls through, it doesn't happen, it's a really big bummer to me. It hits me super hard. And that goes back to being able to learn how to master your emotions. I'm getting better and better at that because, I get really, really sad. I can feel like I'm like shooting down the rock bottom over the dumbest things. Like, we're planning on going on vacation. Here's an example. We're going on vacation and I'm obsessed with sprinkles cupcakes. So good. So good. And it's really because, I am a baker and I love baking and I used to do it for a living, for a business, side business. And, I've made cupcakes, cookies, ice cream cakes, wedding cakes, all those things. But cupcakes were my specialty. So when I learned about sprinkles, though, I got really excited. And I watched the TV show that What's Her Face was on the Food Network and all this stuff. And I have a cookbook and everything. But we're going on vacation. And then I already told my husband, I'm really excited. I get to go to Sprinkles. I haven't been there in years. And, it happened, I think a few days after I'd mentioned that, how I was excited about that. He was like, I wanted to tell you now so that you're not disappointed later, but they're closed. They're closed indefinitely. We don't know when they're going to open because of the pandemic or whatever. And I was so disappointed. I was really, 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 really let down because a stupid cupcake place wasn't going to be open while I was on vacation. It's like the epitome of first world problems. But I was disappointed and I was let down because it felt like something safe for me to put my hope and my expectations in, and it wasn't. I mean, it was, but it was just it really should have just been oh, bummer. Okay, whatever. I'll go next time we go somewhere else, because the likelihood of us going on vacation again to somewhere else that has one is high. We don't have one here where I live in Washington State, but most places we go for vacation, they have them. So, it's no big deal, but it was a really big deal because, like I said, I set my heart and soul on things. However, when things don't work out the way we want them to, whether it's super trivial, like your favorite cupcake place not being open, or, if it's not getting that job promotion or not getting that job at all, or telling someone you love them and them not reciprocating back, or, having to ask for forgiveness from someone and them not wanting to give it yet, and or not getting into the college of your choice, or any of these things. You have to just accept the reality of what's happening in life and know that there are reasons why those things didn't happen. And that's okay, because everything happens for a reason. And I know that can be really hard to accept and understand in the moment. I understand that some people don't believe that. They don't believe that everything happens for a reason, that some things are just sporadic. I think that every single thing has happened for a reason. I feel like God has planned it. And I do understand that God lets us just live our lives and have free will and do whatever. So, and I guess you could say it's not necessarily that he plans everything. He just knows what's going to happen. But I feel like, things go the way that they're going to go for a reason, because it just wasn't supposed to work out that way. And we were supposed to learn this other lesson, or we rushed it too far, or we just overstepped what we were supposed to do, or we were heading in the wrong direction and he had to turn us around somehow. So I do believe that things happen for a reason, but we have to accept the reality of what we're living in, what's happening to us, what we're doing, and the struggles that we have to go through. We can't continue to play the game where we pretend like this isn't our real life, or we are in denial, or we want to complain about everything, or be disappointed. You have to accept it, but keep moving forward. Keep pushing through. Keep working through the struggles. Keep working through the disappointments. Keep on trying, even though you got turned down 3 times for this job, for the college. You had to rewrite some sort of really big paper or research document or whatever it was. Again, because it just wasn't good enough the first time. You have to just know that you might want to look at someone else's life and be like, why is their life so easy? Mine's so hard. It's just because you don't know the hard things that are happening in their life. And some people are just better at pretending their life is good than others. A lot of people wear their heart on their sleeve, and other people keep it super contained and there's a mask on most of the time. So, even if you do want to compare your life and be like, oh, it's so easy, there's still things you don't know, and there's probably things you will never know. No matter how intimately you know someone, there's still going to be things that they're going to keep back. There's still going to be experiences with friends and family that you probably never knew of. Not going to know everyone's deep, intimate past, how they grew up and everything. So you have to understand that you can't compare your life to someone else's because you never know what's really going on. Plus, we all go through our own struggles at our own time, and maybe they just haven't hit that stride, that season of life where they have to go through that major struggle. Maybe you're already there. That's fine, but it's your time, and it hasn't been their time yet, or it has, and you just don't know about it. But again, you have to accept reality. You have to keep going. Don't give up. Know that you can continue to push through and learn. Think about all the inventors and the businessmen and the millionaires that have gone bankrupt or spent all their money or went from person to person to person to try to get them to convince them to help them with their business or their idea or whatever it is they were trying to work on. Think about that. Think about the people that continue to persevere despite the pushback, despite the disrespect, despite the rejection. I know it takes a special type of person to do that, but I think that we could all embody that that idea of just continuing to push through and persevere despite the struggles and the mistakes and the stumbling blocks and the rocky ground. It's okay. So that's all I have to say on how to stay mentally strong. Thank you so much for listening to the Real Positive Girl podcast. Again, my name is Sabrina. Check the description box for notes for the show, where to find me on IG. Send me an email for any questions, comments, concerns, prayer requests, feedback, topic suggestions, or just to say hey, hi, and hello to me. I hope you have a great Thursday, a great rest of your day. Come back tomorrow where we'll be ending the topic of how to do it with how to practice appreciation. But until then, have a good one, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.